Hello, everyone. My name is Meagan Ward. I am a women's entrepreneurial activist, and I am so honored to be here today to be sharing a presentation on personal branding strategies to implement during COVID-19. Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. You can go to the next slide. Okay. So my name is Meagan Ward. I started my career in entrepreneurship in my early days of college. I am a self-taught graphic designer, and I started teaching myself graphic design while I was in college as an additional stream of income. At that time, I was working three jobs and really started to understand that I wanted to make better use of my time and I wanted to make more money so I could pay off my schooling and my tuition. Now, after graduating, I utilized my business marketing degree and I got a career in my field shortly after graduation. Once I started working, I started to realize my skill sets and my expertise. And just after 1 year, I quit. And I quit because I wasn't getting a $3 raise that I felt like I was worth. So quitting really pushed me into full-time entrepreneurship. In 2015, I started my own graphic design agency, and this is where my journey of entrepreneurship started. Next slide. Throughout this journey, I wanted to share with you all a couple ventures that I've founded. As an entrepreneur, I always have tons of ideas. I try to be creative and I really only execute on the ideas that are aligned with my purpose. And we're going to get on purpose in a little bit. But first and foremost, the first company that I founded is my graphic design agency, which is called Creatively Flawless. We provide everything from branding services such as logos, websites, social media design, and consulting. The actual skill sets that I taught myself in college are the skill sets that I use to this day. So I'm really big on teaching and educating. It's really a huge passion of mine. Another company that I founded is FEMOLOGY. FEMOLOGY is a co-working space based in Detroit, Michigan, in the United States, where we gather and we focus on women's empowerment and entrepreneurship. And really, we do that through collaboration, such as social impact experiences, events, and activations. The image that you're seeing on the screen right now, this is a photo from one of our events and one of our activations where we do everything from workshops and seminars and summits. Last but not least, this is a venture that I'm very proud of, and I just launched it this year. But it is an online virtual course called the Influencership. It's an experience where I teach entrepreneurs how to build brands online so that they can attain more brand sponsorships. So I hope this gives you a bit more background on the companies and ventures that I founded and created. Next slide. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the curriculum that I have today. I want everyone to start getting intentional about building your personal brand. What you need to know is that your personal brand is your legacy. At the end of the day, I want you to ask yourself, what do I want to be known for? So start thinking of ways that your work can impact others. And we're talking about the work that you're going to be doing for the lifespan of while you're here on earth. So one of the things that I've done to really enhance my personal brand from a personal perspective is develop healthy habits that support your personal brand's development. One of those things that I do, I time manage and I calendar block. So basically, I design my days from beginning to end. I know at the top of the morning how I'm going to set my intention for the day. And I know how I'm going to set my intention when I'm ready to go to sleep at night. And so when we design our days, we're able to effectively utilize our time. The next thing is investing in yourself. Investing in yourself can look like a number of different things, but really you want to pour back into yourself so you can evolve and you can grow. And investing in yourself, this can look like taking an online course. This can be reading a new book that elevates your mindset. Basically, in short, I want you to do something every single day that contributes to your goals. I have a daily mantra that I've been using ever since I was in college. That mantra is daily determination determines destiny. And it's literally a gem in my daily habits and my daily life. Last but not least, this is a big one, and this is a game changer. This can really help elevate and catapult you into where you want to go. But finding mentors that can advise and support you. And when I say a mentor, I don't mean someone who's just in your field. I mean someone who has had experience, who can really steer and guide you. And a mentor can be someone who's in your field, or a mentor can be someone who's outside of your field. For me, I keep a board of mentors. A board of mentors is really like the people who are rooting and championing you in your personal and your professional life. So I keep a roster of mentors at any given time. Next slide. Okay, next up, I want you to create a personal brand web. And I know this may seem very detailed, very in depth, but yes, this is what I want us to do. So, what a personal brand is, a brand is creating your legacy, right? But in order to create your legacy, you need to be clear on the values that you stand upon. So, number one, in creating your personal brand, I want you to understand your personal values. I call these brand pillars. So, what are the brand pillars that define who you are? And I'm going to share a couple from mine. My brand pillars are entrepreneurship, empowerment, womanhood, mentorship, and family legacy. Now, I want you to create 5 brand pillars that define who you are and what you stand for. Once you've done that, I want you to start thinking of your brands and your offerings. These are things that you can offer in service to the world. So, one, everyone is a personal brand. So, in the first box, I want you to put your personal brand. And then from your personal brand, you're going to have sub offerings. These offerings are ways that you can impact. So for me, I impact through speaking, and I also impact through influencing. The next couple of boxes, you don't have to completely fill these up. These are other ways that you can impact and enhance your brand. And these are also ventures that you can do. So for my offerings, I put ventures that I founded. One is Creatively Flawless. I can offer design as well as consulting services. Another one is my startup, FEMOLOGY, which was the co-working space that I founded, where I round and I get together women to really enhance collaboration and focus on women's empowerment. And I do that through co-working events and partnerships. Last but not least is the influencership, which is my digital course, and I provide online digital experiences where people can get educated on brand partnerships. So I would love for everyone to start creating your personal brand web as your second means of homework. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we're going to spend some time on this slide because this is all about creating a visual identity. And if you're looking at my slideshow now, you've probably noticed that there's a very keen aesthetic. And so this is what I want you all to focus on. Now, a great way to start understanding your personal brand's aesthetic is to create a mood board. A mood board is a collection of inspirational images and colors and textures, and it really sets the mood for the type of design that reflects your personal brand. So if you're looking at the photo to your left, you're going to see my brand mood board. This is something that I've created, I've researched, and I really took a collection of photos that I felt like could define my brand. And so you'll see a mixture of things. You'll see a logo, textures, color palettes, everything from stationery. And I really wanted to use this foundation to set the tone for how my brand was going to look. It's really important that we are consistent in our personal brand because it showcases professionalism and it gives a feeling and a mood to our audience. So for my brand, I really wanted to showcase a professional aesthetic, but I also wanted to showcase women's empowerment. So you get a very feminine feel for my brand, yet it's very clean and it's very straight to the point. So you won't get a lot of illustration from me or a lot of whimsical design because I still want it to have that professional approach. Okay, so next up, I want you to start thinking of colors, right? Colors are really important because, again, colors give off a mood. So, for the example, I'm going to bring up the color blue. The color blue really gives the mood of water. Water is calming. Water is can also be associated with the earth. So if you have a brand where you're passionate about going green, you could use blue and green. Those are definitely colors that can apply. Now, if you have a very modern or edgy brand, black and white, those are very neutral colors. I know brands who, especially fashion based brands, you always see their logo in black and white. And that's because they are in the fashion industry, they're really all about modernism and up to date collections. So they really focus on black and white. Okay, last but not least, I also want to talk about your logo and your professional headshots. Now, we don't think much about having a personal logo when it comes to our personal brand. We always think about having a logo as it relates to creating a company or a business or a venture, but it's just as important to set our intentions with our logo as it is with a business or a venture. So I highly recommend that you all start thinking about your logo. How does your name look in a particular font? How does your name look like if you needed an icon to help define who you are? And so logos can look like a number of different ways. So I've put a couple of examples on my mood board. You'll see one on the top right-hand corner. It says Naomi. It's in a very luxury, clean cut font. And then there's also a logo in the bottom left-hand corner, which is something that has a symbol on top. A symbol is obviously something like the Nike symbol. Nike has a couple of different symbols. They have Nike in all letters. They have the Nike swoosh symbol, and then they also have Nike in big black bold letters. So you can have different variations to your brand, and your brand can include a number of variations of logos, which can include a symbol. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. Okay, in addition to your logo, what complements it very, very finely is professional headshots. So professional headshots are great because you can do a shoot and these headshots can also complement your brand. I highly recommend if you are getting headshots that you create a signature style. So whatever you feel most comfortable with or whatever you feel defines who you are. So for me, pink is a very defining color for my brand. So a lot of my headshots, I wear pink. In addition, I have a very signature look. So when I do my headshots, you'll always see me with straight, long hair and a very nude face. I don't wear a ton of makeup in my headshots because I want to be as fresh and as minimal as possible. But really think about creating your signature look and even the types of poses that you want to give in your professional headshots. Now, your professional headshots, these are going to be used on your social media channels all across the board. So whether you use Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, or Pinterest, any medium of social media, this is where your headshot would be used. Okay, next slide. Okay, now that we have set our intention with our brand, mood board, our pillars. Now we can define who we are and what we do. So I want you all to start thinking about a dynamic title that defines who you are in terms of your legacy and your skill sets. So the reason why I say legacy is because we need to understand that with our legacy, this is about our life's work. So I want you to create a title that is dynamic and multifaceted. I don't want you to focus on just one area of what you do. I want it to be very strong and cover a multitude of what you do. So this stage in the game, and especially dealing with the changes in the online space, it's really important that we put our value on the table and we make it known what we do and what we're great at. So for me, I'm Meagan Ward. I'm a women's entrepreneurial activist, brand strategist, and speaker. So as you can see, my title includes three different titles in one. And that's because I do a multitude of things. Being a women's entrepreneurial activist, I'm able to tackle social issues as it relates to women. Being a brand strategist, I am able to lead my company and we are able to execute and create strategies for women who are building their companies in terms of graphic and website design. And then also being a speaker. So what I'm doing now, I am educating you all on personal branding strategies. So if you are currently a speaker or you aim to be a speaker, I highly recommend that you incorporate this into your title and you make your title clear on everything that you do, whether it's your social media or a business card or your website. We're going to get more into that in the next slide. So I want you to put on your thinking caps. Even if you need to do a little research on titles that align with who you are, go ahead and do a little bit of research. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, what you're seeing on your screen, this is a picture of me. I'm speaking to a group of about 200 women at a corporation called StockX. StockX is a company based here in the United States. They are a billion-dollar corporation where they sell sneakers, and they're actually a broker of sneakers. They don't actually carry stock. And so they are focused on enhancing their corporate culture as it relates to women's empowerment. And so I was able to speak on those issues. So hope that gives you some more background. Okay, next slide. This is probably one of my favorite slides. This slide is all about your online real estate. Okay, and so we are experiencing a pandemic right now. And with the pandemic, many of us, we've had to shift our entire existence. We've had to shift the way that we do business, how we do business. But this in particular, this is about enhancing your personal brand online. So right now, what we're going to do, we're going to take personal inventory of your personal brand in the digital online space. So number one, I want you to think about, do you have your domain name and email? For example, this would be your name.com. So a couple years ago, I was able to purchase my very own domain name, meganward.co. So if you do not have your own domain name, it would be great if you can get that. In addition, you can get a custom email address. And what I love about a custom domain name and email is that it showcases your professionalism. It showcases that you are serious about what you do and you value what you do. Okay, next up, I want you to create a professional personal website. And the focus of a personal professional website is to enhance who you are and what you do. This should be clear and present to the audience that is looking at your website. So for me, I showcase my work in women's empowerment. I showcase my work in branding, as well as any speaking opportunities that I get. I also showcase my design work, which as it relates to my branding company. So I want you all also to do a quick search, whatever Google We use Google in the United States, but this can be any search engine optimization platform. I would love for you to do a search on yourself and see what comes up. Next up, I want you all to focus on your social media. Social media is a phenomenal platform. It is one, it's free, right? We can connect with anyone in the world. How I'm connecting with you all now via the embassy in a virtual experience, you can also connect with people in the same way. And so, what I love about social media is that you can select the primary channels that you want to be on. So if you want to be on Facebook, or you want to be on Snapchat, or you want to be on Twitter, I really want you all to start thinking about the audience that you're serving. So prime example, I speak to a lot of millennial women. A lot of millennial women who are building business or they're looking for the next career move. So a great deal of my audience, they are on Instagram and Facebook. So those are my primary channels. So ask yourself, what is my primary channel as it relates to social media? Next up, this is a huge one, and I always stress this to my own mentees, but are your profiles, have you done any updates, and are you consistent with your brand across the board? And what I mean by updates is, have you updated your professional photo, which is your profile pic? Have you updated your titles and your links? And your titles, this is like, I'm a women's entrepreneurial activist as well as a brand strategist and speaker. Have I updated those titles across all platforms because I want it to be consistent? Another thing, have you included a link to your website? If you are in the process of creating your website, that's totally fine. But even in the meantime, while they're waiting for your website to launch, you can even have a way for them to click on different ways to connect with you, or different articles that you've been featured in, or different work that you've done in your career thus far. So please ensure that your profiles are updated and you're being consistent with your brand. Okay, the next slide. Okay, I want you all to be your own business development manager. What that means is that I want you to put your brand, personal brand, in positions of opportunities to grow and scale your own personal brand. And I think one of the best ways to utilize this business development mindset is to utilize social media, right? Especially since we're in the pandemic. So a great way that I have utilized social media is I've shared valuable content on my social media platforms, and that's in relation to my skill set. So again, I want you to grab your skill set. So for example, my skill set is brand strategy, website design and development, social activism, women's empowerment. So I'm going to create content that is based off of those brand pillars and categories that define who I am as a brand. And so the more content that I post, and what I mean by content, I mean this can be reshareable content such as articles, or it can be my own philosophy and perspective on how I feel about those topics. But the more I post on these things, the more it makes me a credible expert in my field. So I want you all to watch what you post and always ensure that you're posting with a purpose. You should never post just because it was a fun thing to do. You should always ensure that every single post has a mission and a purpose and a destiny. Okay, next up, we should be making meaningful connections online. And what I mean by meaningful connections, these are people who can enhance your brand, they can give value to you, and you can give value to them. And so meaningful connections, we want to take those connections to the next level. So I always recommend, if you see someone that you want to connect with online, do an introduction, right? And with that introduction, you can pitch this to potential mentors. You can pitch pitch it to people that you want to do partnerships with. There's a number of different ways that you can ensure that you're creating meaningful connections. The next one is driving people to your website, right? So anywhere where you can post your website or frequently share your website, I want you to do that, because what it does, it increases your search engine optimization. Search engine optimization, what that means is you are elevating on any search engine. So you want first page results, right? So if I were to go to Google and type in Meagan Ward, I will want my website to come first. Next up, I want you all to pitch yourself for opportunities that can further your career. And what I mean by career, this can be something such as your day job, or it can be your business, and or it can be both, right? And so I pitch myself on a frequent basis. I am updating my current contacts about what I'm doing, whether I am speaking with the embassy or I am working on a new project, such as a digital course. I'm letting my network know what I'm doing. Okay. And last but not least, I want to ensure that you're making your value known, right? Some of the things that I see people do online, especially, they will send an inbox to someone asking them for a partnership or an opportunity, but they won't make their expertise known, and they won't make it valuable for that other person to see. And so I always recommend that you share what your expertise is. So if I'm pitching myself to Nike to be a part of a campaign, I'm sharing that I'm a women's entrepreneurial activist. I have a deep passion for activism and women's empowerment and entrepreneurship. And it's really important that we're aware of our own values as we were talking about the personal brand web. So I hope this gives you more insight on being your own business development manager. If you can go to the next slide, I would love for you all to ask questions. I am open to any questions at this phase. I know we've covered a lot in such a short amount of time, but I certainly look forward to staying connected with you all, and the floor is open for questions. Okay, I think I'm going to be getting questions through the chat box. So I will go ahead. Robert, whenever you're ready, I am ready for you. Okay, great. Awesome. And Robert, if you don't mind, if you could go to page 6 of the slideshow, that would be great. Okay, excellent. Okay, so while questions are coming in, I would love to focus on this right document, which is a really, really important document in creating your personal brand. And I call this a one sheet. Even Robert, if you want to zoom in, I don't know if that's possible, but a personal one sheet is very much like a resume. However, you are showcasing who you are as a personal brand. You're not just showcasing your experience. So the things that we've talked about in this webinar is creating a personal brand, but a personal brand that's reflective of your values. So your one sheet really highlights your values. So I highly recommend that, once you have created your visual identity, that you create a one sheet where you can pitch yourself for different opportunities. And again, it works very much like a personal resume, something that you would use to apply for a job. But in this case, this is something you would use to create your own opportunities for your own brand, whether you want to speak for a company or on behalf of a company, or you want to do a partnership with your dream brand that you utilize their products every day, this is what this would be used for. And last but not least, you can also use this document to send to potential mentors. I'm really big on curating a board of mentors. And again, what I mean by a board of mentors is a roster. You want to have a couple different people who are supporting you in your career. And this document is very professional. You can send this to a potential mentor and they can grasp who you are in one document. Okay, so we have a question from Sweetie Lizzie. Where can I make my website? Where do you do yours? I think that's an excellent question. So I'm going to send a couple examples of places where you can build a website. The first is going to be Wix.com, and I'm going to put it in the chat box just so you guys can understand and possibly go to the website. So Wix.com is a great way to build a website. It is easy for someone who has never built a website. They have something called a drag and drop builder where you don't have to have experience with coding or previous website design. This is something that you can utilize if you've had no experience. And I used it when I was first starting out and I had no experience in website design. So I think Wix is great. Now, if you want something that is a little bit more elevated, I highly recommend WordPress. WordPress is a great platform to showcase your website. With WordPress, you don't need to be a website designer, but you do need to find a really good theme to build a website on the WordPress platform. So WordPress is a great one. We also have another one here in the United States, and that one is called Squarespace. It might be available in Russia, but Squarespace is a leader in the online space as it relates to building a website. Squarespace, again, is another drag and drop builder where you don't need a lot of expertise in website design, but they give you really, really strong templates where you can create a website on your own. But I highly recommend that you utilize one of these three resources: Wix.com, WordPress, or Squarespace.com. Those are great. Okay, we have another question from Irene. Irene asks, how can I find a mentor? What will be your advice? I think that is an excellent question. And so finding a mentor, it can definitely be time consuming. It can definitely be challenging. So before you start venturing out for a mentor, I want you to be clear on your expectations for a mentor. Okay, are you expecting your mentor to check in with you each week? Are you expecting your mentor to be in your current industry? Are you expecting your mentor to be a man or a woman? These are real questions that you should be asking yourself as it relates to vetting a mentor. And so for me, I was really keen on having a diverse group of mentors. I wanted both women and men because I wanted different perspectives. And I also wanted women and men who were in different industries. Because I'm an entrepreneur, I didn't solely want entrepreneurs as mentors. I wanted CEOs who are a part of corporations. I wanted humanitarians who are part of the US Embassy. I also wanted, full-time entrepreneurs who could help enhance my experience as an entrepreneur. So start thinking of ways that you can create benchmarks for the type of mentors that you want. And once you have created those set of expectations, right? So we call those mentorship expectations. Once you've done that, then you can start on that journey of finding a mentor. But I highly recommend that you start finding a mentor within your network. And you start being vocal about wanting and needing a mentor. I'm really big on manifesting what you want. And if you are looking for a mentor who is an engineer because you are looking to expand your career in being an engineer, then you need to make that known. You need to be vocal about that. So whether it is posting it on your social media channels, such as we have LinkedIn here, whether you post it on LinkedIn or you post it on your Facebook channels, it's really important to be vocal about it and let your current network know so that you can expand your network. Okay, so once you have posted it on social media, then I'm pretty sure people will start thinking about your needs and they will introduce you to different people. And even if it's someone that you admire online, I highly recommend that you reach out to them online and be clear that you are looking for a mentor and also be vocal about what you need from them. It's really important when you reach out to people that you're clear on your ask. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the next question. What difficulties have you encountered in your entrepreneurial activism? You guys have phenomenal questions. I am so impressed right now, and I truly appreciate your engagement right now. So, I've definitely encountered, challenges in entrepreneurial activism, and I really want you all to know that activism is not a one size fits all approach. And I don't look at it as that. I never have. Activism is about pushing a mission and doing what we can, utilizing our resources to create a better outcome. And so entrepreneurial activism, we're still in the early stages of entrepreneurship, especially as it relates to the online space, especially dealing with COVID-19, right? The pandemic has really allowed us to see the power of technology, the power of creating a brand online. And so we're able to utilize our voices online. But I can definitely say that I personally received pushback and I've expected pushback. So a couple of the challenges that I've experienced in entrepreneurial activism is women not getting paid what they're worth. And I think that that's experienced on a corporate level, and that's also experienced on an entrepreneurial level. And it all goes back to women understanding their own worth. So if we're feeling like others aren't valuing us, it's also because we aren't valuing ourselves. And so as it relates to entrepreneurial activism, I really start with mindset. How can we be the best entrepreneurs possible if we aren't on this journey of self mastery? So yes, one of the challenges has definitely been understanding my own worth and also others understanding my worth as a woman and getting paid what we should be. So in the United States, we are experiencing challenges with gender pay. And so the pay gap is 70 the woman makes 76 cents, and that's in US dollars, to a man's $1. So there's a significant difference in terms of what women get paid and what men get paid. And that's across the board. That is across the globe. And the more women work on our own personal worth and how we feel about ourselves, that's how we heighten the expectations of others. I'm also going to bring up another challenge in regards to entrepreneurial activism is that this is still a very new arena and not all entrepreneurs have the same mindset. So as it relates to, scaling a company here in the United States, we are dealing with issues of women capping or hitting a glass ceiling at $40,000, $50,000 a year. And once you take revenue and you subtract expenses, women are making minimum wage in their businesses. And so in order to progress, we need to enhance our mindsets. And so, yeah, not all entrepreneurs think the same. And so it's really important for us to share our knowledge with one another, share our expertise, and share what we're implementing in our own businesses so that we can inspire and empower another generation or our colleagues or our accountability partners. Great question. So I'm going to move on to the next question. Thank you so much for such an inspiring presentation. What would you say was the biggest difficulty in building a personal brand for yourself? I would say that's another great question. And building a personal brand is definitely one of the most challenging things that I've done. And I'm going to say it's challenging because we weren't given a blueprint as it relates to structuring and developing our personal brand. So we're figuring out how to put together a personal brand with no blueprint, right? So we're learning this from other entrepreneurs like myself, or, I've learned personal branding tactics from my mentors. And from that, I've been able to build my own blueprint on what that looks like. And I've been able to share that with you all today. But I would definitely say one of the challenges in building a personal brand for myself is being that I do so much, right? So I'm an activist, I'm a graphic designer, I'm also a speaker and a mentor. And so putting this all together in one brand, sometimes it may feel like, oh, I'm doing too much, or oh, this may seem like a lot for my audience, but it's really important that we put all of our gifts on the table, right? I don't want anyone who's watching or who's watching in the future to feel like my personal brand involves too much or my personal brand is too complex. Because I always say this, you were credible at birth. And it's really important to utilize the gifts and the skill sets that you have within you to impact other people. And so, my gift in empowering others, my gift in branding and graphic design, I am supposed to utilize these gifts so that I can enhance the lives of other people. But building a personal brand is no easy task whatsoever. But I highly recommend that you all start this journey if you haven't already and truly take it serious because it is a part of your legacy and ultimately it is your life's work. Okay, question 5. You guys have some great questions. Was it personally, and this is from King, was it personally difficult for you to start on your own? What were your hardest challenges? Another excellent question. And Robert, if you wouldn't mind going to slide, it is going to be slide number 3. I think that would be great for everyone to kind of look at. So I have multiple ventures, and in utilizing and marketing these multiple ventures, the start was the hardest. And I say the start was the hardest because I really had to change my mindset. I graduated from college and I only worked for a year, and we call it corporate America. So, corporate America, this is big, large companies who really lead the business industry. So, corporate America, I really didn't feel valued in corporate America. I was making $14 an hour out of graduation, and $14 an hour at that time when I graduated, it wasn't a lot, but it allowed me to have a steady stream of income. But at that same time, I knew I was worth more. However, I also had the pressure of society, right? The pressure of society in relation to be grateful that I had a job in my career field and be grateful that, it was a full-time job with some benefits, such as, pay time off and, a check every 2 weeks, right? And so when I was thinking about leaving my job to start entrepreneurship on my own, one of the biggest mindset challenges that I had at that time was, could I create a stream of revenue for myself that allowed me to live the life that I wanted? And so I knew that leaving my job, I would forego a paycheck every 2 weeks that was consistent, and I knew how much it was. So I was walking into a total different mindset change. I would have to believe in myself to a next level. I would have to believe that I could make the income that I was making or more at my in my business that I was making in my job that I quit. So I would definitely say that leaving my job and leaving my mindset of what I thought the only way I could be successful was the most challenging. But it proves that, when you make leaps and you really focus on your purpose, that you can be successful in anything that you do. Great questions, everyone. Okay, so we have another question. Thank you for your advice. How often and when should a person update or redo their personal brand page? How often do you update or redo yours? Great question. So I am going to go back to the page with the personal brand sheet. So, Robert, if you can go again to page 6, we are going to look at the personal brand sheet so that we have it up on the screen. And so this I update every quarter. So we have 4 quarters in a year. I update 4 times a year. And I do this just to be consistent, just to stay on top of my personal brand. Since the brand one sheet is the primary document that you have for your personal brand, I highly recommend that we stay consistent with it. So things may change. You may want to edit your bio, or you may have had a speaking opportunity that you want to highlight in your experience, or you may have come up with some new ideas for topics that you want to speak on and you want to update your one sheet. So I highly recommend that you do it every single quarter. But in addition to updating it, when you update it, I highly recommend that you send to other people in your network just to showcase, hey, you've had activity, you've evolved in your personal brand, and you want to update your network on different things that you're doing. So I would definitely say 4 times a year. Okay, we have another question. This is from Sweetie. Thank you for sharing your experience and advice. How long did you wait for your audience after making a website? So I am going to be very transparent with you all. Launching a website, it was very scary for me. And it was scary because I was fearful of my own greatness. And I want you all to really dive deep, dig in deep in who you are, what your gifts are. And I want you to be confident in who you are. Right. And so when I was launching my website, I actually launched my personal website in January of 2020, so just this year. But I sat on my website for a complete year because I was nervous. I didn't know how my audience would receive it. I was going through my own limiting beliefs of understanding, am I cut out for this? Am I made for this? I'm really putting my talents and my gifts on a platter. And, I had an aha moment. I had an aha moment in terms of people need what I'm gifted at, and this can help enhance and change people's lives. So I would definitely say that once I launched my website, I really started to see a lot of changes in my personal brand. I started to get different opportunities that were directly correlated with things that I cared about. So, branding, personal development, mindset mastery, graphic design, creating education and curriculum in the online space. So these are all things that I showcased on my website. And because I launched a website, people were able to see more of what I was doing, which put me in positions of different opportunities. So once I launched my website, I want to say that I started to get immediate opportunities. So I'm pro website for personal brands. Great question. So next question. This is from Sweetie. What did you do to increase the recognition of your brand after making a website and pages on social media networks? So I would definitely say that creating my own content. I'm really big on being an expert in what I do, and in order for other people to know that I'm an expert, I need to educate them on different areas within my expertise. So I'm consistently posting on my social media channels as it relates to my expertise. I'm always offering tips and advice, and I do this on a daily basis. So I highly recommend that you all think about your expertise and different ways that you can educate and inspire your audience. But in addition to that, I use different tactics as it relates to having a website helps. You know, I come up on first page of search results in search engines. I also use hashtags. Hashtags are extremely effective in showcasing more of what you do because you want to expand your audience. And so when you utilize hashtags, you are increasing your visibility and your reach. And specifically, we can do that on Instagram. And I think Instagram is a great space to grow your personal brand. And one, Instagram is a visual platform. So we talked a lot about creating a visual identity. And so you all need to give people a reason to follow you. You need to give people a reason why, you know, to click the follow button or to click add you as a friend, right? You want to create a really enhanced experience with your personal brand. So I would definitely say that that was a great question, ways to increase the recognition. And I'm going to leave one last tip on that question is getting featured in different publications, whether that's magazines, online articles, news stations. It's you can do this by pitching yourself. So I love Forbes.com, and I'm going to put this in the comments in case you guys don't know. But Forbes.com, I love looking at articles on Forbes, and it was always my dream to be featured on Forbes just because I'm always inspired by the different professionals and entrepreneurs that they feature. And so a colleague of mine is actually a writer for Forbes, and she started to see the work that I was doing in terms of entrepreneurial activism. And she said, "Hey, Megan, I would love to feature you on Forbes. Are you able to do an interview?" And so I had an article go live on Forbes.com about a year or two ago, and that really helped increase my visibility. And it also positioned me as an expert to a new audience. And I would definitely consider, you know, getting features in magazines or different media publications. But not only that, creating relationships with writers or journalists, and you can find these people on social media. You know, a great place that I find writers and publicists and photojournalists, I find them on LinkedIn, and I reach out to them if I feel like I want to connect. Okay, so next question. Megan, thank you so much for your advice. What courses could you advise to study graphic design for beginners? Excellent question. I started utilizing courses when I was in college, and so I have quite the experience in taking courses as it relates to graphic design. And so I'm going to give you a couple strong recommendations. And so the first one is lynda.com, and that's lynda.com. Lynda.com is a great source to get tutorials as it relates to graphic design. And they also cover a multitude of different topics in different industries. You can learn graphic design, website design, marketing, digital media marketing, and it's just a really, really a great resource. I utilized a lot of the free resources that they had while I was in college because I was a broke college student, and so I was trying to find free resources, and so they do have some free. Another resource that I love, and this is free, is YouTube. YouTube is an excellent source to learn graphic design, and I started utilizing YouTube when I was in college. And in college, I would YouTube and search how to design a logo, how to design a website, what different platforms are designers able to design on. And that was really, really helpful in enhancing my skill set. Last but not least, I am going to recommend Skillshare, and I'm going to put that in the comments as well. So Skillshare it's really for creatives, entrepreneurial creatives, or anyone who would like to enhance their skills. I started using Skillshare about 6 years ago, and I utilized them to really learn different branding techniques. I really wanted to elevate my brand and my services that I was offering. So I took a couple courses on illustration. I really wanted to learn Adobe Illustrator, and so I took a course on Skillshare. Also, I am I'm well versed in Photoshop, but Photoshop is a very technical service and platform, and so with Photoshop, I'm always wanting to learn ways to enhance my skills within Photoshop. And so I've taken a couple courses within Skillshare to help with that as well. Okay, it looks like we have our last question. These were a great set of questions. What exercises can you recommend for learning how to understand one's own worth as a professional? Are there any books that were impactful for you? And so this question is from Grapefruit Orange. Thank you so much. I love that name. So I think that is a great question, and there are a couple. I'm trying to see. Do I have some? I actually have one right here. And so this book was actually given to me, and it is called, if you guys can see this, it is called If Nobody Loves You, Create the Demand. A powerful jolt of entrepreneurial energy and wisdom. And what I love most about this book, it literally it showcases a way for you to who you are in your own marketplace. And if no one knows who you are, then you can create that demand and you can make people, want to be more involved with your brand. But in terms of mindset, I think this is a great book. There is another book called Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits is one of the best books that I've ever read. But when we get into understanding our worth, whether it's in your professional career or as an entrepreneur, it really goes back to mindset mastery. And mindset mastery, that is focused on being your best self. How can you elevate who you are so it directly reflects your career and achieving your goals? And so I think Atomic Habits is one of the best books out right now, especially as it relates to professionals. So those are my two books that I have. But this was a phenomenal webinar. I'm so grateful that you all allowed me to share my strategies on building a personal brand through COVID-19. I definitely pray for everyone's safety, your health, and your happiness. And at the end of the day, what matters is how we've impacted people. And we are able to impact people through creating a personal brand. If you've looked at any famous person or person who has made humanitarian efforts, you look at them and you in terms of how they've inspired, how they impacted. Even if we look at some of the greats like Martin Luther King or Steve Jobs, who created Apple, right? These are some of the best leaders of our time in their own niche, right? In their own industries. And we have the opportunity to create our own lane as well. We have the opportunity to change the world on any scale, whether that is changing the world within our own communities or changing the world on a local, national, or global scale. We have that power through our personal brand. So I appreciate you all. I am honored that I was able to speak and bond and educate. And if you all would like to stay connected, Robert, if you could go to the last slide. The best place to stay connected with me is on Instagram. You can find me Meagan A. Ward. You have to put the A in there. That is my middle initial. And then I also have a website, which is meganward.co. However, I would love to stay connected with you all, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you so much.